Hello, everyone. More of the same continued today as Trump continued to blame everybody for the war. Now, to give him credit, he did mention Putin in there, but he also mentioned Zelensky and Biden. Did Biden start shooting at Russia or something? Here's the thing, folks. After the annexation of Crimea, would it have been nice if the US, specifically and NATO in general, invoked the articles of the Budapest Memorandum and rose up to defend Ukraine? Yes. That would have been tremendously helpful. However, from the standpoint of what Russia did, saying, well, they attacked another country because it was allowed to do so. I mean, if somebody breaks into your house, I like using this analogy. If somebody breaks into your house, are you going to blame this somebody who allowed them to do so? No. You're going to blame the person who broke into your fucking house. And for that matter, if somebody breaks into your house, murders your children, rapes your wife, and then demands half your house to stop killing you, are you going to give them half your house? No. You're going to fight like hell. And if somebody then shows up and blames you for fighting, I don't think you would enjoy that very much. And that is exactly what is happening with Russia and Ukraine. I once again want to remind everybody of the historic context. Ukraine has been under Russian heel before. How it ended up there? Well, because Russia came to Ukraine and asked it for help protecting its borders from the two very powerful enemies it had conflicts with at the time, Turkey and Poland. At the time, both were powers to be reckoned with. And Ukraine said, fine, but you got to give us some better weapons, some better supplies. And Russia said, okay. In gratitude for that, Russia ended up criminalizing Ukrainian Cossacks who had carried out those border protections for them, executing some of them, sending others to Siberia, and taking over Ukraine. That was Russia's thanks. So it is no surprise that in 1991, over 90% of Ukrainians voted, you know what, enough, we're done, and walked away from Russia. And they have been away from Russia ever since. They don't want to be part of Russia. They don't want to be included with Russia. They don't want to do anything with Russia. They just want to be their own country, determine their own path in life. That is the material point. Nothing else, literally nothing else, happens to matter. So, lying about how many people died there instead of focusing on how many people actually died, lying about whose fault it is instead of focusing on the actual culprit, is not productive. Also, y'all were looking for proof of Chinese nationals being captured by Ukrainian troops. There was a press conference with them, with those Chinese soldiers. Yes, they were escorted by armed Ukrainian guards. Well, I'm sorry, that's what you do when you capture foreign military members on the territory of your country. And, sorry, Guardian, you're saying they weren't speaking of their own volition. Are you implying that Ukraine tortures prisoners? Because no, you're confusing us with Russia. And again, I'm still waiting for a definitive response from Beijing on this. Because remember what we said. If these people were there in private capacity, then they have violated the direct order from Chinese government to stay the hell away out of there. Because Chinese government has been very firm about this. It's a bit hypocritical, but it has been clear. Yeah, we're going to support Russia. We're going to send them shit. But we don't want our people used as cannon fodder. Okay. The perverse kind of care of you, for your people. Fine. So, if they were there in private capacity, they're violating directive from the government. If they were sent there officially as part of Chinese military, that blows China's whole story about not getting involved in the military action. It strains China's relationship with other countries. And China needs to sit down and have a big, long, heavy think about what it wants to do next. Because China, you guys have seen what happened to the North Koreans. 12,000 were sent there. How many came back that we know of, that we can confirm? Yeah, that. You want that happening to your people? You think on that. And again, it doesn't take a Nobel laureate to understand that, yes, what Zelensky is saying is true. The only reason Russia continues dragging its feet on any kind of peace talks is because it has no reason to stop. Yes, Ukraine is putting up one hell of a fight, but as long as there is no unified support for Ukraine, Russia has no reason to stop. As with all extremely selfish people, Putin has to face consequences that are tangible to himself personally. As long as the war is going out there somewhere, he doesn't care. He'll just keep piling up bodies on the front lines. There are now bills initiated by the Democrats going on, in their beginning stages in the House and Senate of the United States. No idea if they will pass. I know there are some Republican supporters of Ukraine. Guys, you're going to have to come out of hiding on this and many other issues. Again, there's continued Russian lies that the attack on Sumy was targeting a gathering of Ukrainian troops. Explain to me why Ukrainian troops would be gathered in the middle of the city on a religious holiday. Because that's what you did. You hit the middle of the city and killed a bunch of people there. As usual, Russia is just yapping off, with no proof that it was a mistake. And there has been another attack, fortunately without casualties, by missiles and guided bombs. Yeah, that sounds peaceful. And then there is this. This is very important. This is on NBC website. Let's treat this as a developing story. But what is this all about? Russia and Belarus ready to act over European escalation around Ukraine. So, what does this mean? It means that if there is any act by the EU or NATO that they basically perceive as an act of aggression, they will act against their Western neighbors. Why is this important? Again, let me show you the map. So, Russia is off to the right over there, just off the screen. There is Belarus. Belarus has direct borders with Lithuania, Latvia, and Poland, in addition to Ukraine. Ukraine has direct borders with Moldova, which is virtually defenseless, Romania, and the worst of it, Hungary and Slovakia, that are both pro-Russian. So, Europe is right to be arming. Europe is right to be considering military drafts. Because when Putin says, well, we are just protecting ourselves, that means he's already thinking about attacking you. And we know that Poland and the Baltics are high on the list. More to come.